Good morning, world. Oh, it's a beautiful morning. The sun is shining. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. I'm gonna have to get out. I mean, it's a little chilly. It's not the high 60s, you know, very low 70s like it was the previous weekend, but it's still going to be nice. It's going to be real nice. Let's talk about gun control. I was on Facebook um, the other night. It might have been last night. I'm not exactly sure. I try not to get on there very often. I have an uncle up in Seattle that I'd sent a message to, and I'm periodically getting on there trying to check to see if he's seen the message and responded to it. Uh, he's a busy man. I think I've talked about him before. Excuse me. But let's talk about gun control. Um, Been a lot of propaganda ads talking about there was this one that was posted. I think my uncle posted it. A different uncle. He's a another good uncle of mine that uh, believes in the socialist agenda and communism and stuff like that. Good for him, at least there's something he believes in. He uh, posted a link to a story that was about a young 5 year old boy that accidentally shot and killed his 9 month old sibling that was I guess in a crib or in a I don't know. I didn't read all of the story. I just got the gist of it. The mother had gone, turned on the TV, went to do the dishes, and all of a sudden heard a pop. Uh, and of course, they use this. The people that are against guns use this sort of news to push their agenda. They use it as propaganda. They use it to push their agenda to get people to not want guns, to get gun legislation, anti-gun legislation, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I wrote a nice little article, and I'm sure a lot of the people on his friends list probably didn't like it or didn't appreciate it, but it comes down to this. We live in a world with guns. That's it. You know, and you can't, as long as one person on this earth has a gun, you can't take a gun away from anybody else. You can't sit there and make laws saying that yeah, it's okay for this person to have a gun, but that person can't have a gun. You can't do that. It's it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Everybody has a right to protect themselves. Everybody has a right to hunt if they need to be. If they don't have a job or whatever the reason is, they have a right to go out and hunt. And if they choose to use a gun, they can use a gun. You have a right to own a gun. It's not the gun's fault that things happen. It's not the gun's fault that little 5 year old shot that 9 month old sibling. It wasn't. It was the parents' fault for leaving the damn gun, a loaded gun, in the living room in the first place, or wherever it was. Wherever that 5 year old got the gun from. You demonize the gun when the gun is nothing more than a tool. That's all the gun is a tool. It's a hammer. Is a tool. A knife is a tool. A sword is a tool. It's it just it amazes me that of what the media will sensationalize, and what people will do with that information that's been sensationalized on the media, such as different travesty events, such as school shootings, et cetera, in order to push for legislation or laws to limit uh, a gun's capacity or to limit guns, to limit the amount of guns that are in the people's hands, to limit the amount of ammunition, to limit this, to limit that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's it's all a big farce. It's an absolute farce. You know, it's not the gun's fault that a kid took some guns to school and shot up his schoolmates and teachers and stuff. It's not the gun's fault somebody goes into a theater and shoots up a theater. It's not the gun's fault. It's that individual's fault. it's it's the fault of their community. It's the fault of their society. You know, it's America is number one in a lot of things. You know, and one of those things is crime. You know, crime in general. Uh, but it's because of all these laws that are passed that criminalize the people. If you pass the war on drugs, all it did was set up a new class of criminals. Just like the war on probation, prohibition. When prohibition was enacted back in the early 1900s, it all it did was create a new class of criminal. When the war on terror, it's creating a new class of criminal. If you try to outlaw guns, it's only going to create a new class of criminal because you're not going to get rid of it. You're not going to get rid of the guns. There's going to be guns. There's always going to be guns. As long as there are guns that in existence, people are going to have guns. And just like everybody else, I wish that we lived in a world that we didn't have to fear these things. That people didn't have to fear guns or violence or somebody else using drugs or drinking alcohol or whatever. I wish we lived in that sort of world, but we don't. And when we pass laws criminalizing uh, somebody else's choices, all we do is create more problems. Well, that's my take on gun control, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I truly do love each and every one of you. Truly and deeply, I do. Carpe diem. And as always, catch you on the flip side.